You are tuned in to Divine Love, Enlightening Relationships. Welcome, souls of the earth. This podcast will be based around sex positivity, healthy relationships, personal triggers, toxic ego work, enlightenment, quantum shifts, and so much more. Hey guys, welcome back. So Chris and I have just recorded a podcast about sex positivity, and we were dying to talk more about our sexual desires and our sex stories, and we just had to wait to save them for you guys because you're our Patreon community. So yeah, we spoke. It was a really good conversation actually, because we spoke about, obviously Chris brings the science aspect to it, but I bring all the self-love aspect to it. And, you know, one of the big things I've learned over the past 12 months has been about masturbation with women, because it's so normal for like, oh yeah, guys always have a wank. Like guys always do it. Like that's all they do. Women, it's kind of like, oh my God, you play with yourself. That's how I've felt over the years. But now I'm like, yeah, of course I'm going to do it. What's the difference in it? Obviously, for the last 5 months, I've had to do a lot more of it because I've not been with Chris, and it's been kind of torture. I know Chris has been a couple times a day. But honestly, like sex is one of the most sold topics in the whole world. And it isn't spoke about enough. You know, it isn't really used enough to express ourselves, because we don't realize as humans we express ourselves so much in sex, don't we?
Yeah, and so I also want to preface this too. Don't compare yourselves to us. I mean, both Pip and I will be honest, we're hypersexual. We both have high libidos, so we want to have sex every day, 5 times a day probably. And when we get reunited, it will be that way for a while. So it's like, that's why she's going to get pregnant quick. But, you know, people do have different libidos. It's some people only want to have sex once or twice a week. You know, talk to your partner about what it is, because you do get mismatched libidos. I've been in those relationships where I'm really high libido. She was really low libido. It destroyed my relationship because we couldn't communicate about that. So I just want to preface that out there. Just because Pip and I are horny bastards doesn't mean you need to be. So it's like, that's why, you know, I just want to be very respectful of people. But again, those moments you are with your partner, you know, those moments when you do have sex with your partner, even if it is that infrequent, make them the most amazing experiences for both you. You know, you have the discussion, it's coming together. It is one of the most loving, best experiences for me, especially is when, you know, Pip and I are having sex or making love, or we're just going at it. It just, with the person I love, there's nothing better. And being that I've been around the block a few times, like the one night stands, Pip's had some one night stands. They suck. They're so,
yeah.
I just like,
it's a young, I think it's a young thing, isn't it? It is a young thing.
Yeah.
It's more of a single thing, obviously, but the thought of that right now, like just going out to go and have sex, like it just, no. And
it's not fulfilling, yeah.
Yeah. And
I think we should talk about the masturbation thing, because you talked about it, and I think that is one that is like very taboo for people. So, you know, giving from the masculine side, babe. Just sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but it's just
okay.
You were talking about it, and I want to make sure I flow with it with a guy from the guy's perspective. Yeah, I once a day, I've got to once a day get that release. Sometimes 2 or 3 times a day, depends on what pictures or videos Pip had sent me that day, or what we talked about. So like, I'm super horny right now, and I'm like, okay, let's hurry this up. But guys do it. Most guys do. Not every single guy. You know, there's always exceptions. Just, I think from a woman's perspective, don't take it personally. Because there was points last year, I told this to Pip when, you know, I was living with her in the UK. She'd go to bed and I'd be horny. And I'd be like, well, I can go upstairs and wake her up, but she's sleeping. She was tired today. Or I'll just go in the bathroom and masturbate in the bathroom. And so I would just go and I had pictures of her, or I'd look at porn. We can talk about porn. But, and I wouldn't feel guilty about it because Pip and I had such an open communication. It's just that she was tired. Now I think we've talked more about it. She's like, "Oh, just wake me up." I'm like, "Okay, I'm marching right up to that bedroom." I'm going to be like, "Hey, babe." But if she says no, she says no. I mean, always have consent. But, yeah, I think from a woman, don't take it personally because sometimes, we just want to masturbate and we want to think about.
Yeah.
I guess we can always talk about what we think about. For me, I'm always thinking about generally Pip, or before Pip, it was always an ex or a very good sexual thing. But it's not like I wanted to go back to that ex. She's an ex for a reason, right? So anyways, I just think there's so much because I've been shamed.
I think it's, again, like for me, like I don't bring the jealousy into that. Like that's because of the level of work I've done on myself. Like I don't have, when you're getting jealous of it, it's because you have the lack of self-worth. There's nothing to be jealous of. If you're jealous of an ex-partner, it's because you feel like they've got something you didn't have, or, they may have got to your partner before you did. But when you let go of all that, it's like, it's just unnecessary stuff. And, as we mentioned on the podcast, we said all the exes you've had, all the sexual experiences you've had, great. Hold space for your partners because, if they, how many blowjobs they've given or how many people they've had sex with, I've given plenty of blowjobs. So I'm very, very good at that kind of thing. So as Chris will probably tell you, so that's my kink. And, but again, like, if I told Chris, I love doing that. And, but he turned around and was like, "Oh, well, how many have you done?" And it just doesn't, it's not a sex positive conversation.
No.
I'm here now, Pip, still sexual, even when I was 18, and all the experience I've had has led me to now, and I can experience that. I can experience my experience with Chris and vice versa. So masturbation for me is, I don't get to do it a lot because of my situation where I'm at right now. I'm living with my parents and my sister and partner and the baby. So it gets pretty tough. I do have quiet moments, but if women who do it, it's tough to just not be able to let yourself go. It's really tough sometimes. So I know I don't mind saying this on Patreon, but my house I'm selling at the moment, it's empty. So I used to just go to the house and send loads of nice videos and pictures to Chris to, for the excitement, because we're apart at the moment. And what's crazy is I'd go around like 2 PM and that would be like 3 AM for Chris, and it'd wake him up. Oh,
yeah,
I was masturbating. It's like his energy was like, "Wake up now, she's in that house masturbating." And it used to make me laugh, but I just feel, again, women, I know it's not as frequent as men. Men play all the time, like it's just a man thing. And I think for women, it's just try and do it as much as you can. Make it part. I used to say this to my clients: make it part of your spiritual routine. Meditation, journaling, nature walks, masturbation. Like, don't feel like that's weird. I've had my most inspirational thoughts after an orgasm. I told that to one of my coaches once. I said, when I was orgasming that week, I said I was having these amazing things come through, and because when you're on an orgasm, your energy's like, wow, it's like it's fully vibrating, and it's an amazing experience. So from more like in depth is just being positive and open with your partner. Is don't say things to make them jealous, because that's what we're trying to get at. It's just, if they're asking you a question and you need to go into your past and be like, well, I have tried this with an ex, or I've tried this with a one night, whatever it was. Again, holding the space, not being judgmental, allowing your partner to speak up about that, because we have to be open about it.
Yeah, I think, and going into your past, it's a tricky one for a lot of people. And so be careful. I wouldn't just go if one of our first conversation, Pip came and said, "Oh, I've given 20 blowjobs, in the last 5 years or something," which I don't know what her number is, but I would have got turned off at first in the relationship, right? But now if Pip comes and tells me she does that, I get turned on. It's just one of my kinks, right? So we talk about that. We can maybe open up a little bit more about some of that stuff later, but So be careful when you open up about your past. But if your partner's asking, say, hey, I just want to make sure it's a positive conversation. Yeah, I've been with, da 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 da. And if your partner, because it is so tricky, it's like this is so weaved into self-love and self-healing, because I've read on message boards where, my ex-girlfriend was talking about how big her ex-boyfriend was. And it made me feel, it emasculates guys sometimes. Because again, penis size, guys are just so focused on penis size. Like, does my penis measure up? And then, like, I don't have a gigantic dong. So I've heard, and I asked Pip, and I've asked exes, I'm like, oh, yeah, I'm just curious, because it has nothing to do with, like, I'm fine with my own performance. But I'm like, was it good? Did it feel better? And in some instances it did. In other instances, guys with really big dongs or penises, I've heard they're really terrible at bed because they think they're so great because they got a big penis. So it's usually the guys with the smaller penises that I've heard are really good in bed because they know they've got to make up some for not having a huge dong. So anyways, I think the point is, when you have these conversations, make sure your partner's open to it. And maybe just, if you need to start slow. And maybe you never get to where Pip and I are at, where, I get all the gritty details. I want to know all the gritty details, not because it's a control thing, not because it's a kink thing. It turns me on. I love that she's sexual. I love that she's had experiences with other people that has made her who she is today. So I embrace her past like nobody's business. Whereas it's funny, in our relationship, Pip doesn't ask a lot about my past because that's not her thing. She knows, we've talked about it and she's asked me some things, but she doesn't want to know gritty details or certain instances, and that's fine. That's not her thing.
Yeah, it doesn't come from a jealous perspective. It just,
it's not your thing.
I just don't need to know. And I just think from my experiences, I had an ex who wasn't sexual really. And, he would spend time away from me and come home and didn't want to touch me. And, I'd dress up and try and kink it up and he'd turn it down, and I've been through that. And I feel you girls and men who've had sex turned down, it doesn't mean you're any less worthy of sex or, being with your partner in that way. You've still got to think, well, your loss, my gain, I'm just going to go upstairs and masturbate. So, and I will say a lot of relationships you're in, and, I know friends who are in relationships and they don't have any sex, and I just feel for them. They're in the 30s. And I think, there's got to be something there that changes that, because I know a relationship isn't all based on sex. Like, I agree with that, but it makes a lot of it up. God, it makes a lot of it up. You've got to have that intimacy. Like, as I said on the podcast, sex growing up younger is just, you just think it's sex, but now being older, oh, it's so much more. The energy you're exchanging, your auras that are mixing, it's the energy exchange. It's the emotion with it. I know me and Chris are going to start getting into Tantra. Anyone who doesn't know about Tantra, it's spiritual stuff. It's about the touch. Like, Chris could not go down that route yet because he's not got enough patience. So Tantra, you meditate naked together, you do massage. It's soul eye gazing.
Yeah, and it's all about the sexual feeling. Like, the orgasm is not the goal, right? The goal is to enjoy each and every step of the sexual experience. The orgasm is just the payoff at the end, but you hold off orgasm as long as you can. Whereas for most of us, it's like we start having sex and we just want to get to orgasm. And then, especially in like a busy parents, you've got kids. It's like, okay, babe, we're going to have sex. Hurry up. Let's have orgasms. Okay. Good night. Where Tantra or date nights, I think people need to try to do this too with date nights. Really stretch out that sexual experience where it's not just about the orgasm, especially for guys. I don't know how much detail, like, I definitely have, there's refractory period. That's natural for guys to, after they orgasm, you have a refractory period, build up, and then generally within 30 minutes, most guys should be able to come back. Some guys can't. Some guys it takes the next day. I know Pip, one of her experiences, the guy would come in one time and that's it. I was like, that's it for you? That sucks. And he'd leave. And I'd be like, oh, that really sucks. But then I like the guy that can go 2, 3, 4 times in a night. I was like, ooh, let's talk about that. That's a fun experience.
Yeah.
So, I think in relationships, sure, you're going to have the one time, let's have a quickie. Quickies are fun. But I really think you need to carve out date nights once a week.
Quality time. It's quality time.
Mm-hmm. That you're going to have, okay, tonight we're going to have sex and it's going to be for like an hour or two. We're going to take baths together. We're going to massage each other. We're going to watch porn together, build up the excitement. If your guy can go 2 or 3 times that night, awesome. If he only goes once, extend it out, right? Like extend it out, really make, when he has his orgasm, it is like the biggest orgasms he's had in ages. But it's that connection. It's that, again, the whole point of this isn't, oh, we just want to have sex. That's not the point of it. The point is, how do we enhance our relationships, our spiritualness together? And sex is such a key role. I'm such a believer in that. It's such a big part of who we are as spiritual beings, having this human experience.
Yeah, I agree. And I know you wanted to touch on porn because I remember I would be so... When I was younger, I would be so offended. If I caught my ex wanking to porn, I would feel so like, oh my God, he doesn't find me attractive, so he's going to porn. Yeah. Now I'm like, this isn't me being ego, big-headed. Now I'm like, okay, they're all fake. That's all watching fake stuff. Depending on what you watch, I like amateur porn because I know it's real. But some guys like all the ones that make orgasm sounds like they're screaming and all these things going on. But I've watched it all. But what I want to say is, if your guy always wants to watch porn to have a wank, like so what? It doesn't mean that he doesn't love you. It doesn't mean that he doesn't like your body. It doesn't mean that he doesn't like your vagina or your bum or your penis. Even if it's a woman, it's not about that. You got to if that's triggering you. You got to think, why is that triggering me? Is it because he's wanking and not playing with me instead? Is it because he's watching porn? And speak to him about it. Don't I've been there. I would do it with one of my exes. I'd be like, why were you watching porn and playing? Why weren't you coming on to me? Why didn't you come? He said, it's my own time. I want my own time. And that's the key in a relationship, is that you need your own time. You do need your own time and to love your body and touch your body and express yourself. But it's just talk to your partner. If I don't like something, I'll happily say to Chris, can I just talk to you about something that I didn't like? Obviously, if I caught Chris watching porn and playing, I'd be like, can I join in, please?
Please.
So
I would love it. I would be
exactly.
Like, yes.
So
yeah.
It's just being open and being able to speak about it, but in a respectful and, not in like a judgy, shouting and triggered and ego way. It's just saying, I just felt triggered by that, and and hold space for your partner back, because we are delicate souls, we're sensitive souls,
and we're not sex therapists, so there could be some deep trauma sometimes. So don't, if that applies to you, take this all with a grain of salt, because we are not sex therapists, but just from experience and what we're trying to bring to the table as far as being more open, more sex positive. I think
just fun. We just want to bring the fun to it.
Yeah, because there can be guys that they become obsessed with porn, right? And there could be some mental stuff there that we definitely won't touch. But I think if a guy is turning to masturbation and pornography more often than having sex with his partner, you got to have that discussion. Why? What is it? Maybe there's a fantasy that he wants. Maybe he's watching gay porn. You don't know. Maybe he's having bisexual tendencies that he's ashamed of, or there's something.
Or again, he may not feel worthy of sex. So he just, that there's just so much to it. And like Chris said, we're not a psychologist, therapist, or everything like that. We're working towards those kind of things, but we're just coming from experience, and we just want to spread light, and spread the love, and give everyone that opportunity to embrace this human side of us, because it's such a beautiful experience.
Well, and here to go back to porn. So yeah, with my ex, that's all I did because I wasn't getting sex for months and months. So, but it became, from my standpoint, so boring. It was just so boring. It was just not exciting. It was just a blah. So now that, Pip and I have been away for 5 months, it's like she's given me so many pictures and videos. That's my porn. Like, that is what I watch. I can't even imagine going to a website and watching something else. Here's the woman I love. I'm watching her masturbate or play with her toys or whatever. And it's just like, it's freaking amazing. And I think that's like a lesson with a long distance relationship, or finding because I love Pip so much more. Like, I just, every day it's like I fall in love with her even more and more, that she has the confidence to set up her phone and her camera and do that and talk fantasies and talk out stuff with the recording. And it's just, and she has the confidence. I can see it. I've seen it grown, and I freaking love it. Like, I love it. It's a daily thing with me. I pull out my videos of Pip, and it's just like, I love her and I love it. So that's something that maybe you guys in a relationship could build up to, if you have some of that openness where you can feel comfortable shooting videos, sending it to your partner, vice versa. I send her videos. And again, it's that positive feedback, because when Pip goes, "Oh my God, that was so hot,"
Yeah.
it makes me smile and feel good about it, what I sent, right? Because I give you positive feedback all the time.
Yeah, I do love it, and it's keeping us going while we're separated. So it is good. And one thing I want to finish on as well, with bringing to spiritual stuff, is that when we, we've had bad partners who, our sex wasn't great, or they were, they could have been a bit sexually abusive, or whatever it was. As we said on the podcast, this stuff could be triggering you, and if it is, you're meant to work on something, and looking to work on those traumas. But in the same sense, I just really believe that, again, like I mentioned earlier on, it's all about the experience. You're having the experiences. And I think for ex-partners or whatever you've been through is forgiveness, because forgiveness as well, forgiveness is huge in the healing journey. It really is. You don't have to forgive what they did, but forgiving the person is the biggest part of the forgiveness journey. And healing the trauma and healing the wounds. But with the sex positivity stuff, it's just fun, because we are here to feel. We are here to just feel all that goodness. And, we are here to have orgasms, several of them. It's just the way it is. And I want people to enjoy it and, and love themselves. And if you're not there yet, then you will be one day. And I promise that.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it's developing that communication with your partner and being able to share your feelings, wants, needs, and desires. And I think that is the most critical part of any relationship, is communication, and sex is, I think that's like the graduate level in a relationship. Sure, we can talk about, ooh, what food do I like? Ooh, where do I want to travel? Ooh, what music do I like? But when it comes to sex, oh my God, okay. That is like, you've got to be careful to an extent, but you get to a point. I'm such a believer in this, to where you can talk about it, because, like in the past when I couldn't, and I felt dirty. I felt like a dirty old or little boy. I felt I was a horn dog. I had such a high libido since I was young, and I've had partners shame me. And then I'm like, ooh, okay, well, I shut down. And then I shut down in other areas of the relationship. So with Pip, it's like anything goes. Anything goes in our relationship.
Yep.
Doesn't mean you have to get there. But we share all of our kinks, all of our fantasies. We have fantasy talk. We send videos of each other masturbating, talking about fantasies, things that we want to play out and do in our lives. We are total 100% transparent and open book, which to me makes me more secure in the relationship in a different way, because I know it's not that I just have the knowledge. I'm like, okay, you've slept with X amount of men. You've given roughly X amount of blowjobs. Great. We've talked about some of those experiences, and it like turns me on and stuff. It's just different for me, but for a lot of guys, maybe that isn't.
Yeah.
the whole point of it is that we're open and we communicate. And if, like, let's say with Pip's sexual assault, she didn't want to talk about it. If she said, you know what, I just really can't talk about it, I would respect it and just say, is there somebody you can go talk to about it? Because you're holding on to that trauma, you know? But just being respectful and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, it is. It's just such a hot topic, you know, and it can be a hot topic, and the self-love definitely comes with it. And we just, again, if any of this trigger is triggering you, just go and work through it, because it really, it's coming up for a reason, and we want you to get that help, you know, if it's professional help, if it's just, you know, doing online work, if it's just doing shadow work, whatever it is. Mm-hmm. But we just had to come on and talk about more of the sex stories, because we love talking about it.
We do every day. We send nudie shots like every other day, like in a long distance relationship.
If we could record our conversations daily, God, Jesus,
people would die. But no, I think, you know, that's just part of the long distance. And then when we're together, you know, I will say too, from the twin flame perspective, wow, the sex is out of this world. We haven't been that wild yet. We will get there in a relationship, because we made love a lot last year, and we both orgasmed at the same time, like almost every time, which has never happened to me in a relationship before. We very sensual, just love making, twin flame energy. So maybe it's another podcast, like the twin flame thing. Because
the twin flame energy, really. That's just, we can talk about that again, you know. Yeah.
But yeah, it's a fun topic. Everybody's always wants to, sex sells. Everybody wants to talk about it. You know, we'll definitely do more podcasts on it, especially when we get back together. Then we can be like, oh my God, that bender last night, babe. Jeez, you know.
I know. I can't wait. So.
It's such a key. It definitely, in our relationship, it definitely, our relationship is not based on sex. Our relationship's always based on spirituality, but sex is a huge part of it. It has come in, and it's a big part of Pip and I's relationship. So, you know, we based our relationship on love and spirituality, and then now sex is like, bam, it's a major part of it. So, but yeah, we'll talk more about it in another one.
Yeah. Well, thanks for watching, guys. And share this Patreon with your friends too. Anyone who's interested, you know, anyone who needs to hear this message and be more open to it, just share our link, and we'd love to grow this Patreon community. So any questions, let us know, and just send us a message on Patreon. That's what you're there for, in the group and stuff like that. So just let us know. All right. See you guys. Bye.
Bye.